Happy Monday. Jesus prayed this prayer in John 17:14 through 18. I have given them your word, and the world has hated them, for they are not of the world any more than I am of the world. My prayer is not that you take them out of the world, but that you protect them from the evil one. They are not of the world, even as I am not of it. Sanctify them by the truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, I have sent them into the world. So where did Jesus dispatch his disciples? Into the world. He didn't say, try to avoid the world. Just hang out with Christian people in the church. And keep your distance from people who use bad language or are bad people. He says, being sent as a representative of God into your job, your neighborhood, your circumstances, and your situations is why you are on this planet. Speaking again to his disciples in John 20:21, we read, again Jesus said, peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you. Now, we are not called to avoid the world, but to engage it. And you might say, but I don't feel comfortable around such people. Well, then ask God to make you more like Jesus, who was known as a friend of sinners. In fact, Luke 7:34 tells us, the Son of Man came eating and drinking, and you say, here is a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. In Matthew 10:16, Jesus told his disciples, I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. It takes two things for a sheep to operate among wolves: courage and wisdom. And it also takes total commitment. Albert Schweitzer gave up his standing as a superb theologian and a world-class musician to serve the poorest people on another continent, Africa. He dedicated himself to medical studies, seeking to build and run a hospital in Africa to alleviate suffering. On Good Friday 1913, Dr. Schweitzer and his wife, Helene Breslau, a trained nurse, set off for the Lambarene mission station on the Ogowo River. The hospital in Lambarene became his life's work. So whatever God has called you to do, it will involve loving people and giving yourself to them. So don't avoid, but engage. Another person who engaged was Jimmy Carter, who died over the Christmas holiday at the age of 100. President Carter was thought by many to be the worst president of my lifetime, if not of all of American history. Yet he did some amazing things. Carter created a national energy policy that included conservation, price control, and new technology. He successfully pursued the Camp David Accords, which brought about a peace agreement between Israel and Egypt, which is still in effect today. He was instrumental in signing the Panama Canal Treaties, which gave the Panama Canal to Panama. And he was a key factor in the second round of the Strategic Arms Limitation talks, which resulted in the signing of the SALT II Nuclear Arms Reduction Treaty. And although history has not been overly kind to Carter as president, he is remembered by nearly all for being the greatest man ever to be president. He was a Christian, a man of character and conviction and courage, who took the words of Jesus seriously and put them into practice. He taught Sunday school well into his 90s. He was the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize and a key figure in Habitat for Humanity, helping build houses for low-income people all over the world. President and Mrs. Carter led the Jimmy and Rosalind Carter Work Project for Habitat for Humanity for more than 30 years. Together, they worked alongside over 108,100 volunteers who have built, renovated, or repaired more than 4,447 homes in 14 countries, all while raising awareness of the critical need for affordable housing. And have you heard of the guinea worm? In 1986, this disease afflicted an estimated 3.5 million people a year in 21 countries in Africa and Asia. Today, Thanks to the work of the Carter Center and its partners, including the countries themselves, the incidence of guinea worm has been reduced by more than 99.99% to just 14 human cases in 2023, which is the last record we have. Jimmy Carter was a peanut farmer from Georgia who made a difference as president and an even greater difference as a disciple of Jesus, who was not afraid to engage the people that Jesus loved, asking nothing in return. And let me tell you about another disciple who engaged to an incredible degree and who I was blessed to call a friend. Her name was Mary Damron, a pioneer and humanitarian who dedicated her life to Samaritan Purse's Operation Christmas Child program. And she passed away on Thursday, December 26th, after a long battle with cancer. In 1993, Mary began collecting shoeboxes in her small rural community of Ikes Fork, West Virginia, a poor, unincorporated community of well less than 1,000 people, after viewing a television advertisement featuring Reverend Franklin Graham delivering shoebox gifts to the children of war-torn Bosnia. After viewing the advertisement, Mary began sticking a paper with the word Bosnia written on it to her wardrobe. The paper reminded her to pray for the children of Bosnia daily, which was at the peak of the Bosnian War during the 90s. By the end of 1994, Mary had collected 1,258 shoeboxes. After collecting the shoeboxes, her and her son Tad filled up a cargo truck with the shoeboxes and transported them to the Samaritan's Purse headquarters in Boone, North Carolina. After arriving, Mary met Reverend Franklin Graham outside the headquarters building. It was the day after Thanksgiving in 1994, and Mary greeted Reverend Graham with the following: "Brother Graham, I'm Mary. Got you some shoeboxes for God. Where do you want them?" Graham was amazed at the amount of shoeboxes which Mary had brought from one of the poorest counties in the poorest state in the United States. Due to the amount of shoeboxes and the large contribution, Reverend Graham offered to take Mary to Bosnia. Now, Bosnia was war-stricken at the time, and there was concern by Graham that she might not understand that she was going into a war zone and would need a bulletproof vest. After Reverend Graham expressed concerns, she said, "What for? I got the Holy Spirit of God, young man. I've got holy angels all around me, the Spirit of God in me, and Jesus walking with me every step of the way. I'll be all right." Mary Damron then became a global ambassador for the OCC program and oversaw the assembling and distribution of hundreds of thousands of shoeboxes in West Virginia and the surrounding areas. Damron even encouraged President Clinton to pack a shoebox in 1995 after being invited to the White House for a press conference on Bosnian peace. When Mary met the president, she boldly handed him an empty shoebox and asked him to fill it with gifts for a child. Then she asked him, "Mr. President, do you care if I pray for you?" And everyone in the Oval Office joined hands, and she prayed a prayer that moved the heart of the commander-in-chief. The Clintons indeed packed a shoebox, and Mary took it to Bosnia, presenting it to a 7-year-old girl named Zlata, who had lost a leg in an artillery attack as she celebrated Christmas in 1993. The president told Graham, "She's the most powerful woman I've ever met. If I had 5 women like her, I could take Congress." I'm sure you will hear more Mary Damron stories from me in the future. But after 30 years of serving Samaritan's Purse and Operation Christmas Child, the shoebox lady, Mary Damron, is now home in heaven. She was 70 years old at the time of her death. Reverend Franklin Graham said, "We will certainly miss Mary, but I thank God for the impact she had on children all around the world for the gospel. I know Mary's family will appreciate your prayers." She once told him, when Graham asked how she related so well to children in all kinds of circumstances all over the world, she said, "Brother Franklin, I see myself in these people. Like them, I growed up hard, had a tough childhood. We didn't have money. We stayed hungry. In the wintertime, we couldn't keep warm. I know what they're going through." And she didn't avoid them. She engaged. Well done, my friend. Would you like to engage? Our Guatemala mission trip will be May 31st through June the 7th. We will be working on house construction, everything from heavy lifting to landscaping and painting. and also engaging the locals. There are 20 spots available, and the total cost is expected to be around $1,400. You can call Pastor Mike in the church office for more information if you are interested in joining us. And our newest Grief Share support program will begin on January 16th at 5 p.m. here at the church. Contact the office for more info. Have a great week. Remember to engage, and I'll see you on Friday. I love you, church.